The factor begins right now.
Nobody ever found nothing, you guys. I mean, why do you think this map would be up here in this attic when it could be in some safety deposit box somewhere, right?
That's right. And anyway, if Chester Copperpot didn't find it, how... Stop!
So, Stranger Things. I came across this little gem, of course, on the source of all strange little gems, Netflix. And I shouldn't say little, or, well, I could say strange for sure. And it looked pretty spookables when they were showing up, and when the ads were first showing up. And I thought it seemed like an interesting concept. I heard phrases being tossed around, Goonies-esque, homage to like 80s, 70s, that type of era. I heard soundtrack. So I thought, alright, well, we gotta give this a go. And so I started watching it about a week or two after it came out. Find it on Netflix right now, Stranger Things. It's season 1, so presumably, and from the way the ratings have been going, they're going to be doing another season. It is 8 episodes, 8 chapters as it were, all labeled accordingly. And it's a really good watch. Before, I'll preface this and say, this is nothing revolutionary we're seeing. It's nothing brand new. This is a concept we've seen before. Same story, just told differently in this scenario. But told well, very well, might I add. The cast itself, we're looking at a mixture of both new and, to some that grew up in the 80s, some familiar faces. I mean, if you go in there, you see like Winona Ryder, and who, by the way, is awesome in this show. And a lot of new faces as well. But the plot of it is we have regular suburban town, 70s, 80s type of era. You know what I'm talking about, like Goonies and shit. I keep saying Goonies a lot, is because it is very reminiscent of the Goonies. A group of friends, 4 kids to be exact. These are some kids who, I don't recognize them from anything, so I'd assume they're new talent. Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike. We have Gaten Matarazzo, I believe it is, who plays his friend Dustin, and Caleb McLaughlin as Lucas, who I could say is the, totally not racist, is the token black child of the group. Gotta mix in some diversity there, am I right? That's the main group, and then we have this kid. We have Will Byers. Now, Will, after a recent game, they're all heading home. They all race each other to take a shortcut. Will become separated. A lab experiment gone wrong is the best way I can put it. Will runs into a creature of some type that essentially chases him down and takes him. And Will is now missing. We have no idea what's going on, but slowly through surely, mystery becomes a mystery. And that gets us to other characters. We have the sheriff, who I've never seen him in anything myself personally. We have, in my opinion, the woman who killed it in this movie. I mean, she did a great job, and I mean, she's been doing this for decades. But Winona Ryder, there's just genuine human emotion coming from her, as she's the mother of Will. And all she has, and she was already a single mother. Besides Will, she had his brother, Jonathan Byers, played by Charlie Heaton, who I swear to God has to be like Norman Reedus' secret unknown son. I mean, just look at it. It's gotta be him. And just the emotion she shows throughout the whole series really, I felt really cut to me several times. Though, besides Winona Ryder, my second favorite performance in this, and it's a good one for sure, is this kid, Millie Brown, and she played this enigmatic child by the name of 11. Also, just casting was just done really well for this movie. All the kids in this movie did a pretty decent job, considering that a lot of the cast is kids, and I always try to address the pros in a movie before I do the cons, so it's definitely a good homage to the era that it's being done. And my mother noticed this several times. Everything from houses to the town, the vehicles, what they used, what they did, colloquialisms, words again. It was all very period authentic. It's kind of like the authenticity of The Witch. While The Witch lacked a lot of things for me that I was expecting and looking for, the biggest thing I can give The Witch credit for was period authenticity in terms of costuming, language, and overall design choices. And especially in Stranger Things, I thought all that was just, fucking hit the nail on the head with the hammer. Like, it was accurate as all hell. And props to that. When a movie goes the extra mile and tries to do that. Now, the story itself, because narrative can make or fucking break a film nowadays, and it's so easy to not have a good narrative. But no, Netflix makes good choices as far as I'm concerned, and this was another one. The narrative in Stranger Things is, while in some points, or mostly throughout, it was fairly predictable, it was still a very engaging narrative to see. We kind of knew how the story was going to pan out. I'm not going to say how it panned out, but you kind of feel like you might know it. But at the same time, it's always interesting to see a new take on the same story. So it was just, it was cool to watch. And there were moments that were emotional, that made you laugh, that made you sad, get teared up a few times, at least in my case. And it was still a good story in the narrative. Like I said, narrative that's been done before. It's just a different way and a different view of the narrative. Now, seeing as how it was technically basically a television show, but of course with Netflix, 99% of their TV shows, they'll put a season on it every year, and you can just binge it. I know some people will watch one episode a week, and, I don't quite have the patience for that, and if it's available, but, if this show was only available weekly, I'd say that the pacing was pretty well done. I didn't feel, up until the end, the very end, I didn't feel anything was ever too rushed. Progressing as a normal show would. There wasn't any rushing, there weren't any moments that were extremely slow. It was well paced narratively, and character development in this show was very good. Almost every character was very adequately touched upon, at least the main primary protagonists and antagonists. Almost all characters in this show had a very good deal of development, and even some arcs here or there, some fairly surprising arcs to be honest, but all enjoyable regardless. And so, being episodic and all that, there were some cliffhangers here or there. Narratively, I will say, and I'm sure this is because it's a seasonal show, there were some plot holes here or there. Nothing major that would destroy it, in my opinion, or that would throw it off its tracks. But there were definitely some plot holes throughout where questions could still be answered, things that were rushed, or characters that just kind of were taken out just like that. But I'm sure, because they also did some sequel baiting, very, very high key at the end, they'll address probably new and old questions that we'll all have, So yeah, the second season has been confirmed, I believe, or is at the very least in the works in a writing sense, so that is to look forward to. So now we have the cons. I don't have a whole lot of gripes with this show, aside from the fact it's by no means an original story. It's a story that's been done before, just being told differently, so that's enjoyable to watch. It heavily draws from, a lot of vibes from this show. There's Goonies vibes. Believe it or not, it's actually very heavy Silent Hill vibes in this show. Not as thematic in the material, granted. You kind of even get a bit of X-Files going in there, maybe a bit of Wayward Pines. No, I'm thinking of Twin Peaks. Though, ironically enough, and I never heard of them until this show, the guys that directed this and were basically responsible primarily, two guys called the Duffer Brothers. They worked very heavily on a show called Wayward Pines that I have not personally watched, but is along the same veins as this show, so interesting right there. Another con is that, of course, it is only 8 episodes. Now, even shows that start off as a pilot show will usually have a minimum of 12 for a season, unless it's like an actual network television. But at the same time,
I suppose, adequate time, I thought, to tell the story they were trying to tell. The very last thing I could say, as a drawback to the show, the ending, for me personally, left some to be desired. There were some conclusions that they had that while it did subvert my expectations, that didn't end up going where I thought it would. Yeah, it was just some not quite satisfactory endings and very heavy sequel baiting. It's going to be a shorter review, I think, than the Ghostbusters review, so I'll keep it at about this length here. So, final verdict, I would say, and we're talking about on my film and television rating system, which I typically do out of 5, compared to my video game rating system, which I do out of 10. For Stranger Things, I give it a solid 4 out of 5 shouldn't say stars. 4 out of 5. A solid 4 out of 5. Was it perfect? No. Were there things that I still desired, that I want out of this show? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Oh yeah, I really enjoyed this show. It was soundtrack. Shit. Soundtrack. Very good. Very, very reminiscent and similar to the homage of It Follows soundtrack. Very similar. Synths and just, I don't know, it wasn't as heavy on the soundtrack as It Follows was, but still a good job. So, yeah, long story short, Stranger Things Season 1, solid 4 out of 5 stars. Go check it out for yourself. It's enough spookables to keep you on the edge of your seat, very good performances, characters, dialogue. It's a very well put together production value based show. Props once again Netflix to providing more original content that is enjoyable, commercial free, available 24/7, allows artistic and creative freedom to the artists, and doesn't give a fuck about ratings just so much as making art and quality. So thank you Netflix for giving the Duffer Brothers this chance to make the first season of what is hopefully going to be in a line of several seasons of the show Stranger Things. Great show. I recommend MovieMan, seal of approval, that whole shebang. Go check it out. Go on Netflix. I don't care if you binge it in one night. I don't care if you watch one episode a week, one episode every other day. Just watch the show. It's good. It's not too gory at all, really. It's not too violent. It's not too thematic. There are still some issues dealt with in the show socially, kind of, but not. It doesn't get too preachy or anything. So go check it out. Thank you guys for watching the review I did of this TV show called Stranger Things. Stay tuned for the next review I do for, well, whatever I do. Goodbye, travelers. Thank you.